Okay, you can see my screen. Thank you so much for that. So let's present from current slide. So yesterday we talked briefly about infrastructure as code. We looked at Git, right? I told you there are a lot of things I actually did yesterday, but I tried to explain the reasons behind it. For example, you didn't see me doing Git from my computer to remote server, but most on your day-to-day job, you have to do that, whereby you have the code, you write the code on your local machine, but you push to Git. But I didn't want to mess up my system with credentials I know I'm not going to use after that yesterday. So you saw how I did it, and I was using the VS Code in the cloud and all. But we did that. Then we actually we went through Terraform, because Terraform is vast. Like I said, if you understand Terraform, Terraform is not just restricted to AWS cloud. Like someone who has actually done Azure, yeah, Terraform can cover for Azure. Terraform cover for most platforms, not just platform, even software as a service. Terraform is actually very vast, right? And if you know it, it's a great advantage for you. Then we also look at CI/CD yesterday, whereby we looked at GitHub Actions, right? And you saw how we didn't even write the actions from our friend. Go, they're already pre-written actions. So there was actually an action for Terraform, right? And if you actually look at that code, the action is very simple. It's a YAML file, but it's very simple. From installing Terraform on the runner, configuring AWS credentials, and I told you we use AWS secret key and access key, and you saw how you could securely save credentials on GitHub Actions. But another one you can do is to actually create an IAM role on your AWS and actually pass in the IAM role instead of secret key and access key. IAM role is more secure compared to secret key and access key. But we already had that secret key and access key, and we had a lot to cover that yesterday. Sure, most of the things we're covering in 1 hour. On a normal day, those are the things you cover for 1 week. Do you understand? To really bring that the concept, but we just try to cover it. So we did CI/CD, we did Terraform Cloud, Terraform FMT, and we actually saw that our pipeline, when we trigger our pipeline and it actually created those resources on AWS, right? Although at the point our pipeline was failing, so I gave that to you to fix. Then okay, we did now use OIDC. That's the IAM role thing that we said we're going to use. So I think that would be a part of your own to actually use IAM role. It would be nice if you actually said, and these are free, right? The GitHub action is free, especially when your repository is in a public subnet is unlimited. But when your repository is in a private subnet, and I say private subnet, when your repository is public, you have free actions. When your repository is private, which I showed you people yesterday, if your repository is private, you can still run some actions, but you can't just keep. I think you have a limit to the actions you can run. Then you have to pay for if you are running more actions. Okay, so that was actually what we did. So today, what are we going to be covering? We're actually going to be reviewing what we call the AWS well-architected framework. Most of you might have heard of it, to ensure reliability, security, and cost efficiency, right? Then we're going to actually understand and enable CloudTrail for auditing, right? CloudTrail is what we use for auditing. So in the cloud, you also have to take audits, because most times somebody does something and they're like, no be me, no be me, it's not me, it's not me. So let me give you an example. I remember in the company I worked for, right, in Nigeria, so they brought in this new DevOps guy that I just said, and they brought in this new DevOps guy, and I told him to create something, so he just kind of created it anyway. But the thing was incurring a lot of cost. So I said, okay, clean up. I didn't use that resource he created. I think he needed to create some gateways on Azure, and it was costing a lot of money. So I said, okay, clean up your mess. You've messed up this whole thing. Clean it up, right? And that's why Terraform is actually very powerful. But he didn't use Terraform. He just provisioned it in the cloud, like click here. So I said, clean it up. He said, okay. Like it, I was even there with him on that call. He said, okay. And he went to the resource group. So in Azure, there's what we call resource group. Resource group is like a container that any project that belongs to that resource, you can actually embed them in that resource group. Do you understand? Meanwhile, on that resource group, that's actually where it was a production account. So that's where we had our production database, the application, all of that. They were all embedded in that resource group. And the things he provisioned them in that resource group. So when I say clean up your mess, right? And I went out of the call, The next thing, the guy just went and deleted the resource group. Production, database, everything. That's how everything was gone. Like, and I'm like, what happened? Luckily, the guy now recognized that it's like what I did was bad, and you cannot control, like you cannot go to recycle bin and just bring out everything back. So he called me, and I saw that this was a serious trouble, and it's a production account. We have clients and all. Funny enough, and I even discovered that even the backup we have was on that resource group. That's the backup, database backup and all was on the resource group, and they were all gone. That was a poor architecture anyway. So we had to, like, and he wanted to say, I already deleted resource group, but when we went to the CloudTrail, that's, I think, on AWS, on Azure, they call it AuditTrail. He just showed the name of who deleted it. His name was just there, deleting all resources. So why I'm saying that is that AuditTrail, enabling AuditTrail in your AWS account, you will know who did what and what they did, what action did they perform, when they want authorized to perform this action they are trying to perform. Do you understand? So it gives you an auditing, a trail of everything that happens in your accounts, right? It is good, it's used for auditing purpose. It's also used to be able to checkmate and to understand what really goes on your environment, right? Then, so we'll be doing that, right? CloudTrail for auditing. Then how to control cost and budgets, right? I know somebody just said the $20 has gone to, the $20 credit is already far going, right? But how do you control costs on your account? How do you budget? You understand? You don't want to go at the end of the month to your AWS account and you are welcomed by surprises of cost, right? So those are the things we'll be looking at, actually creating your budget. In all of us will create budget. Most of us have AWS account. We should be able to create our budget on this call, right? So control costs using budget, cost employer, and now you tag your resources, right? Then we'll just do our hands-on. So our hands-on today is not that much. We're going to be doing we'll enable CloudTrail, then we'll create budget and we'll tag resource. Do you understand? So that's what we're actually going to be doing today. Okay. What is AWS Well Architected Framework? If you've done AWS Entry Certification Exam, which is the AWS Cloud Practitioner, you'll be very, very familiar with what we call Well Architected Framework. The Well Architected Framework is all called like 6 pillars, right? We talk of operational excellence, right? What is operational excellence? The ability for you to be able to run and monitor system to continually deliver business value. So you are not just deploying things out there, but as you are deploying things, as you are running things, you're also monitoring them. You are understanding, you are getting this feedback loop, right? So that at the end, this business runs smoothly. Yes, sir. Yes, you can provision a very highly available MS server like EC2, sir, and you are happy our server is never down. But at the end, when the company compared the cost of that server you are running and the money they are getting out of that server, do you understand? Is it profitable or they are running at a loss just because you are so crazy about very high availability? You provision in a 10 region and in how many availability zone? For what? What are they getting out of it? Do you understand? So what are your operational excellence? Then another major thing that you should always know, which I know we've always emphasized from the beginning of this class, is security. Security. Protect data and system through IAM, encryption, and monitoring. You can see that even monitoring has a role to play with security. Because it is only when you monitor, you'll be able to get feedback on what is vulnerable and what is not. It is only when you monitor, you'll be able to have as an overview of some general things. Do you understand? So it is also very, very important. Security of your data, like I've always said, for any tech company or for any digital company, data is a bloodstream of that company. Once your data is compromised, then the tendency that that company is gone is very, very high. Do you understand that? So security of data, we saw encryption when we're creating our database, but encryption goes deeper. There are different types of encryption. Is it client encryption you want to use, server-side encryption and all of that? It goes deeper, right? So you need to understand how you encrypt data. How do you restrict who have access to what? Using IAM. We talked about IAM, that's the first class. Talk about policies. How do you give what policy should this person have? What policy should this person not have? Then another pillar is reliability. Ensure a workload perform its intended function correctly and consistently. It should be reliable. Not today is up, tomorrow is down. Server up, server down, server up, server down. As a cloud engineer, that is not good for your business, right? So you should have this reliability. That's as in whatever it is you are doing, your workload should perform as intended. Do you understand? On your own, minimize downtime. Yes, downtime can come most time, but how do you gauge? How do you prevent downtime, or how do you? I'm looking for the right English to use now. How do you prepare towards downtime? Right? There is a part of engineering that they call chaos engineering, whereby if something happens, how do you fall back? Like, what's the backup plan? Let me use that word. I'm still missing the word I use. So you have to make sure that whatever it is you are running perform as is expected. And even if there happens to be something unplanned for, you already have plan to quickly bounce back or to quickly stabilize. So for example, we looked at EC2 instance, but we look at, instead of you just provision your application on the EC2 instance, you can actually have that EC2 instance on an auto scaling mode, whereby the more you have traffic, right, is able to scale and accommodate those traffic. So rather than just saying, hey, my application is running on one EC2 instance, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine, right? But what if you go viral? You know, this age of and time whereby virality is, you can just go viral for anything, right? And you go viral, and that is the opportunity for you to make sales. That's the opportunity for your business to make sales, and your infrastructure is not ready. Can you see that now? So you have to ensure that reliability. Then performance efficiency. Use resource efficiently and scale to meet demand. Can you see? This is what I'm talking. Scale to meet demand, scale up to meet demand. Scaling is very, very key, right? Cost. No matter how good an engineer you are, if you cannot save your company cost, then you are not a good engineer. Let me use that word. I might be wrong to use that word, but it is, because as an engineer, one of your major functions is that as you are doing all of these things, as you are ensuring that there's reliability, as you're ensuring that everything you are doing is secure, it means operational excellence, it performs as expected, like it's efficiently and all. If in the midst of all this, you are incurring in more than cost that the company needs to break even, to break even. Do you understand? Then you are not doing well, because no matter what you are doing, they are actually going to pump all the money back into paying for cloud. So you have to be able to optimize costs. Number one, don't over provision resource. Understand what you are doing before you provision resource. Do you get what I mean? Target resource properly. Don't give permissions anyhow. All those things can accumulate to cost. Are you seeing it now? So avoid unnecessary cost and match supply with demand. Are you seeing now? As an engineer, you have to avoid unnecessary cost. I think it was the first day or the first week or the second week, we're talking about how you provision instance. You need to have an understanding of what you are provisioning. So if your line manager or whoever is telling you that, oh, we need EC2 instance, you should not just jump and say, okay, EC2 instance. Okay, what are we using this EC2 instance for? Do we have idea of how the workload will be? Okay, where can I start from? Do you understand it now? I think that same engineer, there was a third-party application we wanted to install. And those people gave him the server requirement. And the server requirement was, is it 32 gig or 64 gig RAM? I'm telling you, of a Nigerian company. Then when they just gave him the server requirement, he didn't pass it through me. He didn't pass it through the engineering manager, and he went and provisioned the server. And when I check, when I check that server, I'm like, what is running on this server? Why? What are we doing? What is that software? What is their software that is so special? Right? And I called him, and I took him straight to AWS calculator. I think we've done that also in this class. I showed you people AWS calculator. It's very key. I took him to AWS calculator. I said, before you provision any resource, run it through this calculator, get the cost estimate, and share it with your engineering manager and share it with your superior. And that's what you should do as a cloud engineer. If they ask you provision anything, or you get a freelancing work and they say, oh, we want this, we want this, one of the things that make you a standard engineer is that you are able to go run those cost estimates, get the Excel sheet or get the graph or whatever, and show to them that this is what this thing will be costing us monthly if we go this route. Are we ready for it? That does not mean they are going to change it, but they now have the expectation that, well, if we provision this is what it's going to cost us. When I ran him through the cost, that server alone in a month will be paying $1,500. Imagine a Nigerian company. Dollars is big, right? Imagine a Nigerian company for one server and the application is not even a customer facing, it's an internal facing application. So it's not that, oh, as much as customers are using it, the company is getting money. I said, no. You understand? We have to now have a call with the third party, and we're like, no, what is the application doing that is requiring 64 gigabytes? Is it running any models? We don't want to run, but do you get what I mean? And at the end, we review it. And we brought it, in short, from something of 64 gig. Do you know that we brought it down to 16 gig and the application still runs fine? Are you seeing it now? So from paying 1,500 every month for just one server, I think we're paying about, I think, if not 300 or 400. Do you get what I mean? And that's what you should have in as a cloud engineer. Always be conscious of cost, right? If the application can run well on the 16 gig, why are we provisioning 64 gig? Just because you say that is and that's why even when you're installing some software, they'll tell you this is the minimum requirement. Do you understand? This is what is expected. So it should be fair and not just over provision. And also, when you discover another thing, when you go to a company and they have EC2 instance, their servers are running, another thing for you to check is, are they over provisioning these things? And you can check by checking the matrix, right? Which is the monitor we are talking about. You can install what we call a CloudWatch agent in those EC2 instances, and you're actually able to see. If you discover that they have this server, but the average estimate, average usage is for memory. The average usage of memory is 15%, 20%. The average usage of CPU is even 1% and not. Then you definitely know that that server is over provisioned. You understand? Then you start looking at what is even running here. It's not using all these things. Can we downsize? Do you get? So those are the things you look at, especially when those servers are not already in reserve instance. Then you downsize. Then sustainability. Minimize environment impact through efficient resource use. Use resource efficiently. So when we talk of the well-architected framework, whatever it is you are designing should have this framework in mind, right? As in, should have these 6 pillars. Is it operational excellent? Is it secure? Is it reliable? Do I ensure the performance is efficient? Do I look into cost? How sustainable do you get? So those are the things we look into. Then, what is the design principle? Stop guessing capacity requirements. I've just said that, right? You don't guess, right? You drill down. Yes, initially you might even provision and you are not sure, but if you take metrics and you monitor it, you should be able to actually gauge the capacity requirement and do the right thing. Test at production scale to understand behavior, right? So there's actually what we call, even most time in production server, you also have to do what we call load testing. Most time, the people that do load testing, I've done load testing, or the people that do load testing are mostly the QA engineers, right? But even you as a cloud engineer, you can do load testing, like, okay, what is the capacity? Or what is the maximum that can happen? Then you can actually load test and make sure that this thing is actually well. Then automate to make experimentation routine, which was what we were doing yesterday. Automating using CI/CD, using pipelines, right? To be able to, especially our infrastructure creation. So we automated this process to make it easier. And with that, we just did yesterday. So imagine, because we already automated, we have that pipeline. It is easier to now say that, oh, let us even set it. If we have this EC2 instance, every so and so time, you should shut down that instance. Every so and so time, you should run that instance. And when you schedule the pipeline actually do a lot of those work. Then consider evolutionary architects that can adapt. Then we have to base decision on data and learn from experiments. You have to keep learning to understand the best way to actually implement this architecture. Then simulate failure through game days, right? Simulate failure. What will a normal fail day look like, right? Then security pillar and logging. We talked about security. We talk about identity and access. Define granular IAM policy. We've talked about this a lot, even though I didn't implement it on this call, but I wanted to implement it, whereby you don't just give somebody admin permission. You don't just give IAM admin permission. For example, S3 and IAM need to have access to S3. You don't just give S3 full access. What does he want to do? He wants to get a bucket, then give it a get bucket for access. You want to be able to decrypt the encryption, give it an decrypt access. Do you get ground as a fine grain access is very key. I know most times we don't follow it. So, but we just want it to work, but it's always key to follow fine grain access, right? Then use rows instead of long-lived keys, like use IAM rows instead of secret and access key. And enforce least privilege. We know the principle of least privilege. I think we've talked about it before, right? Give the person what they need and no more than that, right? The encryption, encrypt data at rest with KMS. That's the key management system. That's the formula of KMS. And in transit with TLS, right? Then you can use either customer managed key if it's required. There are some data that are sensitive. The customers want to provide our key. Fine, you can use them. Monitoring, capture and analyze API activities. You have to capture what happens, the activities, right? Enable CloudTrail and send logs to CloudWatch. So you enable CloudTrail, then you send the logs to CloudWatch. Then CloudWatch can even trigger an alarm that you are able to, there's a human to be able to understand, oh, what is happening? What can we go about it, right? So let us quickly look at CloudTrail auditing. I've explained to you in a nutshell. It allows you to actually see the activities, who perform what activities, what is performing what activity, what is being called, what is happening in this account, right? So AWS CloudTrail record API activities across your accounts, right? It record activities across your account. It capture who perform an action, right? When, from which IP, and with which parameters. And CloudTrail actually enables so that when you have bad actors on your account, and can you have bad actors? Yes. If you, for example, you have an amateur developer, you give them secret key and they tell you, oh, we want secret and access key. They give them secret and access key. And someone else got access to that secret and access key. Or they've left your organization and for some reason, which shouldn't be, you forgot to disable their access. They still have active secret key and access key. Guess what happened? They are going to use it to start provisioning blockchain Ethereum server on your this thing. Before you wake up, your blockchain server of how many gig is already the blockchain server of how many gig is already costing you a lot. Do you get? So that's why you should understand who did this, which IP address did this, where is it coming from? Do you understand? Some company also uses a lot. For example, this I assume most of us are in Nigeria here. Yeah? So for example, you have somebody abroad and they get a job, and they get a job in their name because they have the right to work, and they give it to you in Nigeria. You are not supposed to just log into the server directly from your, like, it just say, oh yeah, take my AWS and just do this, do. No, you're not supposed to. You know why? Your IP is a Nigerian IP, and they actually enable all this trade. They're going to say that, how come a Nigerian IP is eating our creating resources for us? What is happening? You get what I mean? So it's actually enabled to know who did this, from where, which IP, where is it coming from, and a lot of that. That's why people use VPN when you want to do some tunneling and access some things that maybe your IP is not actually supposed to access. So those are it. What are the key points? Enable automatic is enabled automatically in every account, right? Events history shows last 90 days of activities, right? Pro deliver logs to S3 and can aggregate across region. Then support management, data, and insight events. So it supports both the data management and insight. So you're able to actually see insight into your account and what is happening. Okay, I will see together. So for example, what are the event type? There's the management type, like the control plane operation, for example, IAM, EC2, are you getting that? They are all logged by default. Then there's the data resource operation, like for example, access, object access, who access this EC2, what did you put here? High volume. Do you understand? So you can do that. Then inside, detect unusual activity pattern, like for example, spike in provisioning. For example, you have that account, you've never provisioned more than this particular instance and all. Suddenly, one day, you just have provisioning anyhow, right? There's even a lot of what we call what's it called? policy, SCP, I've forgotten the full name now, that you can enable to hinder some provision even on the account. Some organizations actually do that, especially when you are working with the developers account. Okay, so now that's just in a nutshell what we have. So now we actually be enabling CloudTrail on our AWS account. I'm going to show you how we enable CloudTrail. Then we're actually going to configure storage, right? So we're actually going to choose an S3 bucket for logging activities. So as CloudTrail collects this log of the activities that are happening, it actually saves those activities in an S3 bucket. Then we can enable encryption. We've done lifecycle policy before, so you can actually enable encryption, do lifecycle policy of that bucket, right? Then optionally deliver to CloudWatch log. You can actually send to CloudWatch log. But remember, most of all these things are also costly, and we are considering cost also. Therefore, that's for real-time monitoring. What are we doing? We are going to enable Insight, turn on CloudTrail Insight to detect abnormalities. We might not be able to test this one because I don't think I want to load my account to detect abnormalities. But you should actually have this at the back of your mind that, oh, this is how we detect abnormalities, right? Oh, this is what happened, right? So we can actually configure metrics in CloudWatch and create alerts if desire. Create alarm whereby, oh, if this activity spike, you as a subscriber should be able to actually get an email alert. So like, oh, something unusual activities is happening here, someone is over provisioning resource, this and this and that is happening, right? Are we still together? Oh my God, I've been talking to myself. Let me see. Okay, so we are together. Thank you so much. So now we are going to actually go into our lab, right? We'll go into our lab and actually we'll actually do this. But another thing I also want us to talk about is cost control, budget, cost explorer, right? AWS actually has a very good interface whereby you can actually see your costs and you can budget, right? You can even budget based on a resource, not just budgeting the whole account. You can budget the account. You can also budget based on the resource. For example, you are enabling a particular resource. I remember then we needed to enable. We're working with data, and we needed to enable Databricks. We just set a budget for Databricks, right? That Databricks budget should not exceed this so amount at the end of the month. Do you get? And it actually really paid off. So yes, you can do that. So we have AWS budget and we have AWS cost explorer. What is the difference? What is the purpose? For budget, it defines spending or usage threshold and get proactive alerts, just like your normal everyday budgeting, right? Why do you budget? You for example, you have your money, you budget your money that, oh, this is the amount for food, this is the amount for shelter, whatever. When you have that budget, you make sure that the amount for when the amount for food or for entertainment, you know that, for example, let's say I have 2,000 naira for food. You get, I have 3,000 for entertainment. You whatever entertainment it is, once you start going towards 2005 and you've hit that 3,000, even if more entertainment come, you say, no, I don't have budget for this. I don't know if you understand. So it's within whatever it is you do it within your budget. Also on the AWS account, you can actually set a budget and like, please, oh, I don't want to go overboard this. Does budget stop you from creating? No, you will still be able to create, but just going to tell you you are going overboard. Just like you having a budget does not mean, so for example, you have a budget for entertainment for 3,000 and suddenly you are spent in that month, you are spent 2,900, and suddenly your favorite musician or your favorite footballer comes and you need to go and see them, and for you to go and see them you need extra 500. The fact that you have a budget doesn't stop you, to be honest. You will see if you are so, you can still pay. So budget doesn't really stop you from provisioning resource, right? But budget is going to tell you, you have exceeded your budget for the month. You will still be able to provision the resource, but you've not exceeded your budget. I hope you understand that. Why Cost Explorer analyze historical cost and usage trend for the insight. So Cost Explorer will tell you, oh, last month, for this resource, this was the same amount to consume. 2 months ago, for this resource, this was the same amount to consume, right? We'll be saying that also. Then what are the focus? The focus is that to prevent cost overrun by enforcing budget. So when you actually set budget, and it's also good to set budget, because if you don't set budget, even you as an engineer, you might leave things running and you don't know. So for example, if I have my account and I said that, oh, the budget I want to use the month, because it's my personal account, it's a practice account, the budget I want to use in the month, it should not be more than, let me say, $100, right? If I set that budget and I go away, and one day I check my phone and I get an alert, ping, 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 you are 80% into your budget. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything. It quickly makes me to go and check my account and see if I forgot and left anything running, right? Like Desmond that left VPC, and because he created NAT gateway and AIP and a lot, it was running. You get immediately he got budget, he ran to quickly go and remove those resources because he wasn't using them. So why should they be there? You get where I mean now? But if you don't have a budget for it, those things are just still going, and you are just enjoying your life because you've forgotten that you created them. Then at the end of the month, your AWS billing will come, pay $100, and you're like, what have I done? Do you get? And they will keep disturbing you. I know most of you have abandoned AWS account. Very soon, AWS, then the next thing you do, you now abandon the account and go and create another account. Very soon, AWS will be using identity to create account so that you now abandon the account and leave the money there and run away, right? So, but yeah, it kind of alerts you, right? But Cost Explorer make you to visualize cost drivers. Right? What's driving this cost? What's the reason for this cost? You identify, no, now how come they are charging me for Postgres when I never created Postgres? So you are able to see it and quickly act on it. Then user, you understand? So who are the people that use this? It's finance team, project managers are the ones that are mostly interested in budget. For example, for every project, there's a budget. If a company is saying that, let us launch this product, let us launch this, what's it called, fitness app, right? There's a budget for the app. They don't just say, let's launch fitness app and see what happens. No, there's a budget for the app. There's a budget for the developers. There's a budget for the cloud cost. There's a budget for even the campaign. There's a budget for the marketing. Are you seeing that? And after they've put this budget, because they can only do that because they've also projected that if this our app can reach 5 million customers, this is the profit we'll get. If we get this amount we make, if we make this amount, this is for us to be able to make this amount, we need to have this budget. All of you the accountant know I don't do the accounting, but yes, budgeting help a lot to do that, right? Then cost. In terms of cost, first two actions, enable budget per month, right? Additional budget cost extra. So if you enable budget per month, I think it's free, but any other additional one, you have to even pay for budgeting also. Then a Cost Explorer included with AWS account for standard feature. So it's actually included. You see it on every AWS account. What are the best use case? Alert when spend approach or exceed forecast, right? Then this one, you dig into the costs and find out what is happening, and you can optimize your workload from there. I hope we understand. Then tagging and cost allocation. Why do we tag resource? We tag resource so that we can even know, this thing, all through when we're doing this course, I keep telling you it's important to tag resource so that you even know, and you saw me tagging get techie, so that from when I'm digging deeper into my course, I can like, this get techie project, because some organizations don't have one product. Do you get? They have multiple products. For example, they can have fitness products, they can have dancing products, they can have eating products, and they are all handled by different product managers, but they don't want to have different AWS accounts because it will be overwhelming. So they can still have their standard AWS account, but the tagging, so when you are creating EC2 instance for the fitness product, you're able to tag project EC2, that this project is coming from a fitness product. Then tag is coming from the dancing product. Tag is coming from the food product. You know why? When you are now actually balancing, when you're actually doing cost auditing, you should be able to like, based on this tag, all the resources that have this tag, they are coming from what? Fitness product. This one they are coming from. So you're actually able to understand that, yes, this one is not, if not another resource, another project will be eating into another project, and you can't really separate concerns. So tagging actually helps a lot, right? So tag attribute cost to teams, project and environment. They enable granular reporting and budgets that align with your organizational structure, right? What are the best practices? Establish a tagging policy. You can actually set a tagging policy, right? For example, owner, environment, project. Who is the owner? What environment? Owner, what's it called now? Which product am I using? It can be, yeah, fitness team. Are you getting that? Environment is a dev, production, or staging environment, right? Project, what project is it? So you can actually enforce this kind of tagging, that this is how I want tagging to be done. Then you can also enable a generated cost allocation tag, right? Like you can now like generate costs based on tag, right? Then enforce tagging via AWS config or IAC module. So you can actually go to and enforce tagging. So if you want to create a resource and there's no tag, you won't be able to create that resource, right? So in case you are working in an organization and you are trying to create EC2, and like, but Victory taught us that this is how you create EC2. How come my EC2 is not working? And what is happening? What is happening? And you are getting a lot of error. Learn to read the error. The error will be clear, telling you that you need to tag this resource and you not tag this resource, right? Okay. Then right sizing and pricing model, right? Right sizing, match compute and storage resource to actual utilization. We've talked about this a million times, right? Periodically analyze cloud workbench to downsize or terminate underutilized resources. There are sometimes it's so annoying. You just want, you go to a company. There was a company I was working for them when I just came to the UK. They have about many EC2 instances, and what did they have there? They have what was this Jenkins server 1, Jenkins server, like about how many Jenkins server? Okay, fine, we have Jenkins server, but I've now noticed that we've always been using GitHub Actions. It doesn't mean that we're not using Jenkins servers, and on problem, so oh, we've left Jenkins, we're not using GitHub Action. But we have the instances running, like I could imagine. You know how many? So in such case, you terminate the instances. You just said the IAs, you can take snapshots, we've talked about, right? Take snapshot of those instances and terminate them, so that in case they now say, hey, immediately you terminated them, something now happened, you can use the snapshots to what? Restore them back. You get what I mean? So those are the things you should consider, right? Terminate them. High impact and low risk optimization techniques. So you try to just optimize to save costs, right? Pricing models. I think we talked about pricing model. Did we not? There are different pricing models AWS have, right? There's a reserve, right? There's a saving plan, there's a spot instance. You should be able to understand pricing model and be able to actually apply them effectively. Just read about pricing model. It's actually help you to help the organization save costs, right? So what are the cost optimization best practices, right? We talk about visibility. Use cost allocation tag so that you know what is costing us. Enable budget and review cost explorer reports regularly. Right sizing, we've talked about that. Pricing model, we've talked about that. Architecture, there are sometimes that the only way you can help the organization save costs is to re-architect the whole system, right? Design for scaling and efficiency. Use serverless where possible. Are you seeing now? So for example, you go to an organization and they have like 5 or 10 front-end applications, and all those 10 front-end applications, they're running on 10 EC2 instance. No, you can re-architect and like, okay, since these are front-end and they are not even server, they are not server side, they are all client rendering. Why can't you just put them on AWS Amplify? It's serverless, very, very cheap. In short, they have their static application, they have their websites that they rarely update. They have their website running on EC2 instance. No, why can't you put it on S3? It will save us a lot. Do edge location with CloudFormation, with CloudFront. Are you seeing that kind of a thing? So that's re-architecting. You are re-architecting, and when you do that, you can terminate that EC2 instance, run their static website on S3 bucket, run it on AWS Amplify, and in short, those resources most times they will not even, you will not even pay like £2, $2-3 in a month compared to you paying money for EC2 instance just because they are running a static application. So that's where that re-architecting actually come in, right? Minimize ID resource, adopt event-driven design. Any resource that is ID is not doing anything just there. They say, we don't know where we will use it to. Automate the process, shut it down when it needs to be used. Turn on your pipeline, it comes on. When they are done using it, you don't even wait for them to go and turn on your pipeline. You say, okay, when are you using it? How many hours are you using it? You program it on the pipeline. Once they turn it on, once it's about 5 or 6 hours time, the thing trigger and turn off itself. Do you understand? All this is just an effort to save cost, right? So we'll be going to our lab 2. We are going to enable CloudTrail. We are going to create budgeting, and we are going to actually look at cost allocation with tag, right? So those are the things we'll be doing now. Are we together? So I'm going to be sharing my, okay, yeah, sorry. I'm going to be giving us 5 minutes for questioning. It's not much. What we are doing today is not much. So can say I'm relaxed, I'm not running, right? They will give us 5 minutes for questioning. Then after that, we can just go to our AWS accounts and move on. Yes. Any question, please? Oh, no question. Do we understand? I might be talking to myself all this way. Yes, please. Ibrahim, ask your question. You should ask question.
Okay, this question is not part of what we have tweeted now.
Okay.
So, but I like to ask the question. Like during our development, you know that if we are dealing with a full stack application, we normally create a .env file. And .env file is where we store our sensitive
Credentials.
API credential. Yes, ma'am. So how can we deal with that if we associate that with security in the AWS? How can we deal with that? How can we handle that files in the AWS? This is my question.
Okay, that's good. So, like, if you remember the other class, we're actually using what we call AWS Secret Manager, right? Whereby you can actually store those credentials in, and the application is able to use Secret Manager. That's one. Then you can actually use what we call AWS Parameter Store also, right? AWS Parameter Store is even free, it's cheap. Like, it's free, not even cheap, right? But the Secret Manager, why company go with Security Manager, it has the ability to rotate credentials for you, right? But you can either use AWS Security Manager, or you can use a parameter store. So those are places that you can actually securely store secrets. Then yesterday also you saw that when we also had some secrets that we want to inject into building our application, there's actually on GitHub Actions, there's a way you can actually securely also save. You saw us now creating secret variables on GitHub Action. The end goal is that your env file should not even reside in your repository, or should not reside anywhere that it can be compromised. Do you get? So AWS actually has a feature for that.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Any other question, please? Are we still there? Okay, I'll be sharing my screen now, right? And okay, Ibrahim is still up. Okay, yeah. Any other question, please, before we move on? Any other question? Okay, so let's go to AWS. Let me know when you can see my screen, please. Okay, so I assume you can see my screen, right? So this is our AWS. I'm actually already on my Cost Explorer, right? So we're going to do budgeting on Cost Exploring. Then I'll just show you and walk you through it. Now, you see, this is my own AWS account, right? Don't mind me, I have money in my accounts. This is my own AWS account. For you, yes, I'm very rich. So you can see, just seeing this summary alone, because of this training, right? Last month that I didn't really do anything much, from January 1st to January 28th, the total amount I spent last month for this same time period is $6, right? The total amount I spent last month is $7 on my AWS account. Can you see this now? This month, because of the training and all, you can see my cost has increased by 138%. This month, so far from now, this is the amount I spent. Luckily, this month is just February. So it's ending today, right? And the forecasted amount, this is the amount I'm going to be spending. Again now. So you can see the difference from spending $8 to spending $15 in just 1 month. Do you understand? So this is actually my billing console, right? We said that we'll be looking at how do we set budgets? How do we use Cost Explorer? So now you can see this is it, right? But if I come down to Cost Explorer, it actually does, you see, Cost Explorer, it will, we said that it will give you a breakdown of what is even utilizing, what are you using, what did you provision, comparing it with that of the previous month, right? So if I go to my Cost Explorer, can you see this is for January? If I come down, what are the things, what things did I use in January? What things did I use in February? As in, okay, no, December, January, February. Can you see my Cost Explorer now? So far, you might not be able to see anything here because I'm not really actively using this account, right? But if I check my monthly cost, I can now see that, oh, okay, so this, okay, everything is going to show 00 here. You know why? I have credits on I have AWS credits on this account. So even the things I paid for is going to show 00. Oh, this is not nice. I shouldn't use this account. I should have used another account. But okay, but if I go back to the home, so some of you that don't have credits, you're actually able to see this, or if you're working in an organization. But if I go back to the home, you can actually see the breakdown, right? Everything is going to actually tell me 00 because at the end, still going to remove it. But in February alone, AWS key management system, I'm spending $4, about 4 point something $. Relational database, remember when we set up database, I'm spending $3 on it. VPC, somebody that thinks VPC doesn't cost money and their money was going. VPC is $2, right? Then Elastic Compute Cloud, those computers were quickly bringing up and bringing on. In as well that mine was supposed to be on the free tier. Are you seeing now? Then load balancer that we just brought up, you could see. Then others has to do with Titan. You see, as compared to January, do you understand? I'm still using key management system. I think I left it running, right? But you can see in January, I really didn't do anything VPC, subnet and all. So just by January and February, just by this training alone, you can see the difference in cost, right? February, nothing. I need to read this key management system. I've been running this key management system for a while now. Do you understand it now? So this is actually our Cost Explorer. But we want to actually budget. I want to set a budget on this account that, yes, if you create VPC and leave it because of the IP attached to the NAT gateway, especially when you start creating a standard VPC and you are using the AIP attached to the NAT gateway and all, you pay for it. Yes, you pay for it. Then another cost I'm not seeing here, which I'm supposed to see, is my Route 53. I think now you pay $1 for every availability zone you have. So now, if I come back here, can you see? So I have my, I can see my view, I can put my payment. And most of you, I gave credit. Somebody was asking me, they still can't enter their credit. If I gave you credit, you would just come here, click on credit. You click on credit, then you just come and click on redeem credit. If you click on redeem credit, that code I gave to you, once you enter it and redeem credit, it will add that money. So I still have about 4 credits left, right? So in case you have not given you credit before, and for someone who genuinely asks for credit, I can see. But the credits, once you buy AWS credit, you can only apply 2 in your account. After that, you cannot apply more than 2 in an account. It will not work again. So that's why I was asking, have I given you before? Do you get? So now we are going to go to budgeting and we're going to set our budget. So for that, I will go down here. Can you see budget and planning, right? So I can create a budget. I can view my budget report. Then pricing calculator, we've actually dealt with this before. Budget report, I don't really have any budget, so I'm not going to actually see any report because I don't think I've ever created a budget before, right? So I'll just come here and click on budget. So for you, when you set up AWS, I can come here, click on budget. Oh, okay, no, I think this is their own, I don't know if I was one that created this budget to my zero spend budget. But if I want to create a budget, I'm just going to come here, I'm going to click on create budget. Can you see? Very, very simple. So do I want to use AWS templates or I want to do my own customize, right? I want to customize my template. I can as well use their own AWS simplified templates, right? Then I will come here I want a zero cost budget. There are different kind of, meaning zero cost, meaning I don't want any at all. But I want a monthly cost budget, meaning in a month, this is the amount I want to spend. You can also have what called daily reservation utilization budget, right? You can have daily saving plan budget. But I'm going to go with monthly budget. So I'm going to call it my monthly cost budget, right? Enter the budget amount. I've enter $100. So I can just say I want to spend $10 at the end of this month, right? Who should be the email recipient? Meaning, as the budget go, who wants to receive this? So I can just put in my email. But in this case, when you are working for a company, you won't put your Gmail to be your company email. It can now be your line manager email, your email for those who are actually in it. So I can actually come down here, click on this, go down to template setting, right? Okay, this is for custom service. It's as simple as I create budget, but I want us to also do a granular budget. So you can see we've created a budget, right? That our budget is $10. And with this now, I should actually be able to get an email. I've gotten an email immediately. Dear customer, you requested an alert. Come and see. I'm going to, let me just know what. I'm going to screenshot this email. I'm going to put it on the group for you to see what you are going to see. Now it has told me that I've already exceeded my budget for the month. Remember, I've exceeded my budget for the month because I created a budget for $10 and now I've spent almost $16. So you see, dear customer, immediately it just told me that you requested that we alert you when the actual cost associated with my monthly budget exceeds, because the template is that at 80% is going to alert you, like 80% of whatever you see you said. So in my own case, the 80% of probably $8, right? For the current month. This month actual cost associated with this budget is now this. You can find the additional details. So it's going to actually send you this. And from there, you can actually go to AWS dashboard. Are you getting that? And you're actually able to see. Imagine in short, they've actually started sending me now. So I'm just going to screen grab this one, or any of you that have created budgets, so that you just know, for you to see what is expected of you, right? That, oh, when I create a budget, is actually what I get, right? So I'm going to do this. I'm just screenshotting. Okay, so it's there now. So they will send you a message and tell you, give you a table and like, oh, this is the amount, this is the actual one, and all of that. So I'm doing that's for the monthly budget. So I'm just going to go, I get it now, and I can actually see, oh, can you see the month of February? Can see how I've actually, this is what I budgeted though. Are you seeing it now? But okay, at 85%, they're supposed to alert me. So they've sent me this, how many alerts already? They've sent me the actual from 85%. They send me budget for forecasted when it's going to hit. Are you getting 100%? They've sent me that, this is my actual cost. Are you seeing now? So they've actually sent me this for email as I'm talking to you right here now. Do you get? So they've alerted me for 85%, 100%. Yeah, somebody asked, can we access this service with an IAM account? If you access the service with an IAM account and you enable that, you should be able to view. It's not, no, I'm not on my root account. This is not my root account. This is my IAM user. But this is my IAM user. When you have a root account, there's a way you can actually say that, oh, you want this billing. It's actually the billing should be as in they should be able to see the billing. So if you say they should be able to see the billing and the person is an admin, then they are able to see the billing. So while I'm an IAM user, I'm also an admin. Therefore, I'm actually able to see this billing. You get that now? So I'm going to delete this budget. So that's just it. And they sent me this alert now. So I can just come to action and I'm going to delete this budget now. So you can see I've deleted this budget. Then another one, I can come again, create a budget, right? But instead of using templates, we are going to be customizing it. It's going to now be more technical, right? We are going to be customizing it. When we click on customize, right? Now we have different, right? What do I want? Do I want a cost budget or I want usage budget? Meaning for usage, I'm budgeting usage, not the total cost now. Or saving plan budget or reservation budget. Saving plan and reservation are those so reservation is, for example, you know that, oh, I'm setting up this EC2 instance. I think I've explained it here before. I'm setting up this EC2 instance. the sizing is right, everything is right. I want to lock down this for the next 1 year. I'm going to be paying for it. Once you about reservation, you shut down that system, you don't shut it down. As long as it's on reservation, it doesn't count. It's cheaper, but you shutting it down doesn't count, because you shut it down, you leave it running, you are paying for that capacity. Do you understand what I mean? So that's one thing. But if you like delete it, you are still paying for it. You are paying for the reservation. Do you get what I mean? So you have to actually be careful when you purchase a reservation. You lock down a particular cost and it's tied to your account. So you can actually see your reservation budget. Saving plan also is another. So just read on AWS service plan. You'll be able to actually have understanding of it. But we're looking at cost budget, right? So that's what we're going to be looking at. You can see now this one is just not as straightforward. Then when we click on there, say how to set up the budget, though this enter the budget amount. This one is just kind of giving you an estimate. So what is the budget name? Do you get? I'm still saying my monthly budget. So I want it to be my monthly budget, right? Then I want it to be monthly, right? I want it to be a recurring budget, meaning it's not just going to last for this month, but subsequent months, right? Where did I want this budget to start from? I can ask, okay, I want this budget to start from the month of March. Are you saying it now? So from the month of March, you should take budgeting method. Did I want it to be fixed? If I want it to be fixed out of all plans, like specify your budget amount for each budget period. So I can say I want a plan or auto adjusting, meaning I'm going to keep adjusting, right? But I want it to be fixed, like I want this fixed amount. How much do you want? Are you saying that I'm going to just enter? But if you are doing this for organization, you know, remember your budget is going to be that. So if you go to an organization, you start working with them and you discover they don't have a budget, anything goes. For you to want to set a budget, you have to go through their cost explorer and see how much have they been using over time. Oh, for the last 6 months, they have already using between 4,000, 5,000, 4,000, 5,000. So you can actually set a budget. You can actually set a budget for 4,005. Do you get what I mean? So that is actually the way you set budget for that. So I'm not going to. So don't go to a company and put $10. It's going to be useless, right? Because only one day company can even use as much as 500, 1,000. What was $1,000? There was a company I was working with. A day is almost like $5,000 because of how heavy their infrastructure was, right? So yeah, then the aggregate cost, like how do we want what do we want? Is it on blended cost, blended costs, and all of that? So I'm just going to leave it on blended cost. Then you tag it, right? I told you tagging is necessary. I can just put owner. Of course, I'm the owner, right? So I know I told you about tagging. You can add as many tags. No, when we're looking at the theory, we said that you can even enforce policy. So you can have 3 tags. You can have owner, products, and you get the name of it and all of that. But we're just going to do that. Then after that, we'll do this. So you can see that the other one is easy, right? So do we want to add an alert? Yes, we want to add the threshold. What is the first alert threshold? We can say that when our money gets to 80%, it should alert us, right? Right? So when it gets to 80%, in this case, when my account hits $8, it should allow me. Who do want to receive this? So you can see that these are the things that they've already created in that first template, right? That we use. So we didn't have to do all of this. Now I'm not going to get alert for this because I said that the budget should take effect from March, right? Then I can subscribe. I can even AWS chatbot alerts. I can do a lot of things. Then I can add another threshold again. Meaning, what is the second threshold? When the money, when the budget amount is also, I can put 95 or I can still put 100%, right? I can still put 100%. What do I want? Is it the actual? Are you getting now of the absolute value? So I can actually see, so when it's up to 10%, see send me the alerts. Are you seeing that? The same person said the alert to this person, which is what we actually saw in that template we use. So there are sometimes that you might not be using templates, but you can actually just enter it like this. Do you guess? So you can actually subscribe a SNS. I'm not going to cover this because it's beyond the scope of this, right? Then we're going to click on next, and after that, we're actually going to preview whatever it is we have. Then we'll click on next, and with this, we can actually now create our budget, right? It's still the same budget that we have before. So you can see we have our budget, and it's going to alert us at a particular point in time. Are we together now? Okay, so that being said, that's that about budgeting. Then we also look at Cost Explorer, which I've also explained. Then what did I say we'll be looking at again? CloudTrail. We enable CloudTrail so that we're actually able to understand so we've looked at that, we've looked at budgeting. So we said that we are going to look at CloudTrail. AWS is so easy because if you know the name of the service you want, if you just come here and type it here, as you are typing, you will actually see it. Are you seeing now? So if I just want CloudTrail, I should actually be able to see our CloudTrail. Can you see track users, activities, and API usage? So I'm going to click on CloudTrail. For now, I've not enabled CloudTrail, to be honest, because this is a personal training account, right? So if you go to dashboard, you won't really see anything on my dashboard. Can you see? If I click on dashboard, I really don't have any CloudTrail on my dashboard. I've not created any, right? But right now, we're actually going to create a new CloudTrail, right? So we're going to click on a create CloudTrail, right? And we are now going to specify what is the, are you seeing now, what kind of event CloudTrail? Is it management events? You know, we talked about it, that it can be management events. It can be, which other events again did we talk about? Can we remember? It's obvious I'm talking to myself right now. We can have management events, we can have data events, and we can have insight events, right? So like management events is when you want to understand EC2, all those normal events, right? Then data is when you like who access which object access, who touch S3, who shake the S3. Insight is like, oh, there's suddenly a spike in how we provision things and all of that. Do you get what I mean? So what we can just do, we can just create a management test now. So let's just make it a management event, right? So we can actually have management events, right? So what do we have? I told you that we also want to be extracting this old log and then putting on S3, right? So you see that you use an existing S3. If I click on use an existing S3, from here I can actually browse to our S3 bucket and we'll see all the S3 bucket, including the one we created yesterday. Can you see that? So you see that you create the bucket first. Oh, you're just going to say create the bucket. So you're going to give you AWS CloudTrail logs. Can you see it now? So this is the name of the bucket. See, with this account number, are you getting now? And with some other random character, it makes it unique. Remember, I told you it must be unique, right? Then log files, right? We want to encrypt this actually for the log file encryption, right? Then what should the key be? Should it be a customer managed or an existing one? We don't even want it. Let's just leave it here, right? Then AWS key management alias, in case you are using AWS key management, right? So you can actually put the alias here. But what do we want? Log file validation, we can enable that. You want to send a message that notification, like you want to enable SNS, right? CloudWatch, you want the log to go to CloudWatch so that you can actually view this log in CloudWatch, right? You can actually enable this. Then you can actually set some document policy also. Do you understand that? But we don't want to, I'm not checking all of this because I don't want to incur much more cost on this account. Then remember I told you, whenever you create a resource, always what? Create a tag. So I'm just going to use the word owner again. Then I can just put in so that we know how to delete it with this tag, right? So after that, we can just what? Next. Oh, I have to put my key management alias. KMS key management and bucket must be in the same region. Is my bucket in the same region? Oh, do I have a KMS? Yeah, I need to go check for my KMS. I actually have KMS. So I'm going to open another tab so that I will not close this. Okay, let's use existing. What am I saying? Let's use existing. Do I have it? Oh, I don't have any. I don't like creating key management system because you can't just delete it immediately. If you create it, I think it takes about 3 months to delete. If you notice on that my account, it has subsequently been there. I thought I even had one that I just deleted. So I'm just going to create it. Then we're going to go to next, right? So after that, we say it's a management event. It will capture management operational performance on your AWS. So it capture the performance you have on your AWS data, right? It logs the resource operation performed on or within a resource. So as you are performing a resource, like I said, getting S3 and all of that, it logs that. Insights to identify unusual activities, right? Then network activities also, but we're just going to create management events. You can actually create this event, but in a separate event so that you know where to look when you are concerned about a particular event. If you create all of them together, it's not that you cannot check all of them together, but if you check all of them together, they are now all going to be like clumped in one S3 bucket. But if you create an event for this, then you know the buckets to query. Again, if you're not doing any data analysis that you want to move it to Athena and to use a data stream or whatever to do that, you can just know that this bucket is actually for that, right? So that's why this is the then. What are the activities you want to see? Is anybody reading? Are you getting now? You want to log if they are reading, like interacting with you, or if they are writing, like creating with it and all. Do you understand? So these are the activities you want to log. Then you click on next again, and that is you review it, and then you can create that CloudTrail. So when you create the CloudTrail, right, as you are doing things, as you are doing resource, it's actually writing those data to S3. If you have enabled CloudWatch, it's writing those data to CloudWatch, and you can actually see, oh, Victory created CloudWatch, Victory created CloudTrail, Victory did this person did that. Do we understand that? Are we still together? Oh, I don't know. So let me see if I can. Do we understand this now? Okay, so that's actually how you create these events, and you can actually query it. You can see it on CloudWatch if anything happens. But like I said, the more you stream all this log and all, you actually need to understand the cost for it. This is a personal account, so I'm not just going to enable that because I'm not going to keep acquiring cost for that. So that's actually all we have for today. Any question? I'll be stopping the recording now. We still have time. I'm so happy today. We are not rushing today. See, I'm relaxed. Any questions so far?